Okay, so now let's go on to The Handmaid's Tale. It's a new series from HBO.
No.
No, it's not from HBO. It's from Hulu and MGM Entertainment.
Yeah,
I lie.
Yeah.
So it's based on the novel by Margaret Atwood. The novel from 1985.
It's
I
an
think.
older one, yeah. No,
Or 83. It's around then.
Yeah, correct.
Early to mid 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Shall I go ahead and
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah.
But your idea, so you run with it.
Yeah. I wanted to do this because I think it's fantastic. The TV program and the book. So, just if you haven't seen it, just a quick synopsis of the premise.
Yeah. Also, a side note: we will mostly be discussing the first episode called Offred. Right?
Yes, we're just talking about the first episode because I mean a lot of people will have only seen the first few episodes. It's up to episode 9 in the States and elsewhere in Scandinavia, I believe. But yeah, it's not out here in Germany yet, unfortunately, inexplicably, because it's a really good and very relevant and very important show. So the program is based on the novel by Margaret Atwood, also called The Handmaid's Tale, in which is a dystopia in which a fundamentalist Christian group called the Brothers of Jacob, I think it's the Brothers of Jacob, or the Sons of Jacob, they have taken over the United States. So the United States has become this Christian fundamentalist theocracy after some unnamed environmental disaster or catastrophe or just degeneration has caused the infertility of most people. So for some unknown reason, no babies are being born, and then out of this insecurity and instability, this Christian fundamentalist group, they took over in some kind of government coup, in some kind of violent government coup. So now the people who are able to, the women who are able to give birth, who have recently gave birth just before the coup of the Sons of Jacob, they have become handmaids. These women who are basically kept as baby-making slaves, who are essentially raped by the high-up commanding officers of this new regime.
By the patriarchy.
Yes. Raped by the patriarchy, essentially raped by the patriarchy, but also actually physically raped in an attempt to create new children. And they have to go through a weird ceremony in which they sit between the legs of the wives of these higher ups. In an it's a way for the regime to make the wives feel as if they are also part of this process. So yeah, it follows this one handmaid called Offred. Oh, and all the handmaids take a patronymic name, which is of, and then the name of their rapist and the commander that they are under at that particular time. So our protagonist is called Offred. Although what's her real name? I can't remember her real name.
I didn't either. Actually.
So she's given this new name, Offred, but that can change. So if they go to a new one, they could go. If they went and then were Roy's handmaid, then it would be of Roy or of Joël. So that's basically it, and it's a beautifully shot program. It's really, really, I think, very emotionally affecting and effective. And it's got Elizabeth Moss in it, who you may remember from Top of the Lake
Mad Men.
And I think she's fantastic. She's a great actress,
Absolutely,
right?
100%.
She's one of my favourites. So what do you think about it, guys?
The first thing I noticed was how gorgeous it looks. Like, it really is wonderfully shot, and it just has this great feel to it, and it looks great. And then when I was looking who directed it, it was Reed Morano, whom I've never heard of. And funnily enough, speaking of patriarchy, I assumed was a man, which it isn't, because Reed Morano is a woman.
Is she American? You never know with American names. Could be anything.
That's a good
They
point.
they name people after. Look, she's named after just just grass.
Grass, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
They call people anything in America. What should we call? Let's call him Table. Right.
Yeah, so I should have been. It is tricky, absolutely. And then I also found out that she only had a directorial debut 2 years ago, which was Meadowland, which I have not seen. But she's been
Never
mostly.
heard of it.
Oh, that is a movie. That is. It's not part of the TV series.
No, that's a film, correct?
Okay.
And she mostly does cinematography, which she has also done for Final and for Kill Your Darling. So this is actually her second directing gig, and then deliver such a beautiful, gorgeous episode. It's it's
very
commendable, but also you can maybe tell that she was cinematographer because obviously she wasn't in this case, but I mean she has a very strong visual.
Good eye for.
Yeah, exactly. So
Oh,
you can
absolutely. The colours in it are
Mhm.
incredible because you have the handmaids who are dressed in red,
Yeah. Mhm.
and then that contrasts with the wives who are dressed in this sort of
Blue.
Green.
bluey, greeny,
Yeah.
aquamarine
Mhm.
sort of thing.
Mhm.
It's kind of greeny, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then that
Lower-
contrasts with
yeah.
all the bleakness. A lot of it is very dark,
Yeah.
actually.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, for example, the red could stand for fertility and for
Well, yeah, it
ovulation.
does. Yeah,
so
it
they
stands for that.
So
Yeah.
there's this whole system, this whole new system, which like permeates this new society, and you see it back everywhere. And that's because you were saying like the
Sorry, can
novel.
Can I,
Oh, no.
yeah, no, go on.
So you were saying like the novel is from the mid '80s at least.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
it's amazing.
it is kind of. I was thinking also of 1984. That's one of the that's one of the most famous examples of. It's about a society which is everybody watches everybody, and what I found very effective is because you guys were saying how good it looks, but also how it is filmed, because you have often close-ups or medium shots. Everything seems to be really cramped.
Yeah,
know,
it does make you
everything
feel
is
claustrophobic.
Yes, that's the best way to put it. It feels very claustrophobic, but it also reflects how the society works, because they need to be watching each other, otherwise they will fall out with the regime.
Mhm.
You know, basically women disappear, even they get the biblical punishments. In the first episode there's an awful side plot about this young woman who doesn't want to commit to the new regime, and one night she's taken by some of the sisters. She comes back and sees her eyes are stabbed
Yeah,
out.
it's eye for an eye, right?
Eye for an eye, and that reflects back on.
Actually, no, that's not it. It's like
one-
if my right eye doesn't please
it was-
you,
Then
then
cut it out or something.
then
yeah.
cut it out. That's
Yeah, it's not eye
actually
for an eye.
from the
'Cause
Bible.
she didn't
It
take
was
it
another
out.
quote, yeah,
Yeah,
indeed,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
but it's basically all going back to the more fundamentalistic interpretations of Christianity and of the Bible.
Well, it's more. I think it's less fundamental, more about how you can interpret the Bible in any way you want, or just generally religious texts. You can do whatever you
Well,
like.
Well, I
really,
think
and find a precedent in the Bible or
Yeah,
in
okay,
whatever
but-
scripture you choose, right?
Yes, and also being very focused on the Old Testament, of course.
Yeah.
But you wanted to go finish up a little bit what I was saying
Yeah.
before. Reed Morano definitely does a great job. But then the writer Bruce Mayer also, what I thought was funny, because he's known a little bit more for his sci-fi stuff, and this is more dystopian than science fiction, of course.
Well, there's a Venn diagram, right?
Correct.
Like the
Yeah.
two.
Hmm. But he's known for the 100, the 4400, and Eureka, which are all very sci-fi shows.
Yeah.
But I think he's done a great job. I think he's written the first 3 episodes of season 1 at least. I think. But he's done a great job. And then we already talked about Elizabeth Moss, but also Joseph Fiennes, Yvonne Strahovski, Alexis Bledel, and Anne Dowd. Now, Anne Dowd just came from The Leftovers, which has recently had the series finale. And she's basically the aunt, you know.
I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah.
The punishing sort of trainers. These
Exactly.
Very very
yeah,
strict
yeah.
women.
Also, that's a great job. Now, Rotten Tomatoes, I haven't seen that before, I think. 100% score up until now. and on Metacritic is 92, which is also crazily high. But these are both for the entire series overall.
Yeah.
So not only for the first episode, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Okay, and Fiennes does well, right?
Yeah, because
a lot of people don't like Fiennes.
Yeah,
really. Joseph Fiennes.
Yeah, Joseph Fiennes. But for me, one of the things, it's not his fault, but Shakespeare in Love was overrated. And it's not his fault, but
it's the only other thing he did, right? But
I know.
What he's most famous for.
Yeah, what he was famous for. It's one of the things I have against him, even though it's not fair. And then he was also in this show, a bad NBC, I think, TV show, where he was a lead actor, and then I hated him in that, wasn't it? And then when all the electricity is gone or something. I don't remember the name. It doesn't matter. It's really bad.
He was also in Killing Me Softly with Heather Graham.
But I haven't seen that. So
but that's not a very good movie. But there's a lot of nakedness in it. I say that.
That's good, I guess. But anyway, so I'm not a big fan of his. But what I like about his performance in this is, I don't know where it's going, so I haven't read the book. But you can tell, that I feel that he's struggling a little bit, like he...
You think?
Yeah, I feel like you can tell that there's a little bit of undercurrent of emotion there, that he's maybe not actually happy with the way things are, even though he's apparently a very high up commander.
Yeah.
So he's actually somebody and everything, but I feel that there's more to him than meets the eye.
You need to see the later ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really, he's a very interesting character.
Yeah. Okay.
And they do develop him. And actually, all the characters, while in the first episode they might seem just these very two-dimensional archetypes, dystopian archetypes. They really, really flesh people out with some backstory and some very unpredictable behaviour.
Okay.
Sometimes you think, I didn't expect them to do that. So it should definitely stick it in.
I must kind of disagree because I've only seen the first episode, and same as for Joel. I must say that there's already so many details in it that I'm already hooked because of maybe not even the main storylines, but also these subplots and what Joel said, the doubt in the performance or in the characters already. They're already giving small hints, and that's great, even for a first episode.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that it is worth 100% or anything, but I was really fascinated, not only how it looked, but also the storylines, and just also like these small scenes where you saw a little bit of shade in the character already, like there is doubt, or there's one of the. She always walks with.
So Alexis Bledel's character.
Yeah, always walks around, and then during the first episode, first they're seen as she's gonna betray me because she's always bitchy, but in the end she actually kind of shows another side.
There was a nice touch as well, because she calls Offred calls the other one a pious bitch.
Yes.
But then the girl herself thought that Offred was a pious bitch, and just because she talks about it before, because when they're talking about Moira, right?
Yes.
Then she realizes, Offred is not a pious bitch, and vice versa, and that's why they first open up to each other. So I thought that was cleverly written.
I think that's an interesting observation about how that kind of society makes everyone
distrust each other.
Distrust, and make everyone think, you're the bad one in this situation.
Yeah. And also there's a lot of jealousy. The most famous example is the wife of the commander, because she's she's put within the hierarchy far above the character of Elizabeth Moss, but Elizabeth Moss, Moss, she can probably give birth to the child of her husband. So she's actually a very pained character.
Also
she might be a bitch, but there is,
Yeah, also because, like you said,
she loses her power.
Yeah, she loses her power, but she's higher than all the other women. But she's also still clearly much lower than her husband as well. Though.
That too, yes.
Because in the end, when they go into the room for a meeting, she stays there. And that's also where you see, she might be highest as a wife, but she's still lower because she's not a man. And then she has Offred, who offers something that she
No.
hasn't. So it makes it a very complicated emotional situation for the wife, definitely.
And that's also like these mechanisms, like when you read, for example, 1984, there's also like references to older class society. So it is kind of, in this series also shows already in the first episode, our future might actually look more than some of our pasts. Like a strong classes, a division to keep this so-called power structure. So some people say you never know, if you change this law or you change that law. But sometimes societies are closer to a breakdown or an older, worse version of than we think.
Well,
But
actually,
that's what I found interesting. That the future doesn't necessarily.
famously,
So.
Atwood, she said she didn't put anything in the book that hadn't already occurred or
Okay.
was occurring in the world. So,
Okay.
Well, that's
That's
interesting. I think it's a bit extreme. Because in that sense, and I have to, sorry, I know it's not a political show, but I have to say something about that. Like, I mean, for a dystopian show, I feel the show feels very realistic, and I think it's also credit to Atwood and what she probably portrayed in a novel, but I've been hearing other people say as well. But some anti-Trump people who were saying that under Trump this might actually happen, I think that's insane, because
No.
one, Trump is not even close to being a Christian, and two, Trump is not conservative. Like he's way too liberal himself to be able to create a society like that.
well, no, the point I think of this, I think the points that the show and the book make, they're much more subtle than that. About I think that there are reflections of us. It's an extreme reflection of what could happen, and of some things that do happen in our society. For instance, one of the more obvious things is that the women take a patronymic name, and in this instance, it's their whole name becomes based on the man. But I mean, in Western tradition and in a lot of other traditions, the woman does take the man's name,
Yes.
and she becomes. I don't know, if someone married me, they might choose to take my name, and they would become Mrs. Edgecombe. That's Mr.'s Edgecombe. So it literally is of Edgecombe. So, I mean, that's just one example of where
And that's not the only
the
place
film
where it
takes a
is
bit of
also.
an extreme example of what actually does happen in society. Right?
Yes. I don't think that anything like that actually can happen, but yes, it's true.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, that dystopia might not... That probably won't come to pass, right? And it's not a prediction. It's an extreme. You have to be shown extremes, I think, in order to see some of the more subtle ways in which women are undermined in our own society.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and also this also again, this was all in the first episode. So many things happen. In the end, there is this guy who's seen as a prisoner, or he did something wrong in that society. And he basically raped a woman.
Well, they're told that he raped.
They're told that he raped, but anyway, he is within that power structure. He did something wrong and he needs to be punished. And they, the people, who kind of give the verdict, they let it be acted out by the other suppressed, which are the handmaidens. So the handmaidens are punishing this man. Literally attacking him physically.
Yeah. They rip him apart.
They rip him apart, basically.
I think that's for me also I think to give them some sort of sense of power.
That is to give them. That's to
sense
channel
of
their
power.
anger and to channel everything,
I
right?
find it very interesting.
It's also it's almost it's like that gladiatorial thing, and you find it in every single dystopia, almost every single one.
Yeah.
There is some situation in which the populace are allowed to be really, really brutal. It's very controlled, but in that controlled situation, the populace, can be. It's a bit like gladiators in the Roman times, right? They see this gore, and it's their way in an oppressed society of getting out their anger.
Yes, and it's also
It's like a controlled outlet valve, right? So.
But one negative thing though, negative is too strong of a word, and that's 100% on the right. Sorry.
Go for it. You're right.
Yeah. That's 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, but the one thing, and this in general, maybe the screenwriter in me, when you write a screenplay or a teleplay,
Yeah.
According to the rules, you can only write down things you can see, right? Because it's a visual medium.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's why, even though, like we discussed last time, there are a lot of famous films with narration.
Mhm.
It's sort of like a no-go because you're being lazy. You know what I mean? Because
Is there narration in the first episode?
yes, of course there is, and or you hear inner voice at least. So
Because I didn't think there was inner voice in the first few episodes.
Yes,
There is
absolutely.
definitely later
Yeah,
on, but
but there's in the first episode as well. Well,
Yeah.
I think is one of the first things we hear even. But and why I think it is a little bit lazy. You can see why it is. It can be considered lazy. Is at the end. She you hear her inner voice talking about how she feels about Moira most likely being dead.
Mhm.
Even though our witness or our source might not be the most credible, so I feel we'll see her again. But she says like, okay, Moira's dead, but she sort of stares like almost not defiantly, but like resistantly, like I'm going to go on, I'm going to stay alive, for my child.
Mm.
That's the reason why she's going to keep going. But I feel like you could have shown that. I think her emotions, in her face, and Elizabeth Moss is a great actor.
She's such a great actor. Everything is clear on her face.
I don't have to hear her inner voice say that. But a lot of time when you do, something that's based on the book, there's so much information that they feel that they have to put in some kind of narration to capture the entire load of the book and the inner voice you hear that you cannot have in a visual medium. And I think that it's not necessary.
Okay.
Elizabeth Moss is good enough. And to me, the final scene of the first episode said enough. I knew that she was going on for her child.
Yeah, I think it is made clear.
Yeah.
But I think you kind of answered your own criticism there because it's trying to incorporate the first person narration of the book a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that was it. I don't know. But I do agree that they might not have needed it. And actually, I don't enjoy the narration parts. I think it's better being shown. And you're right, Elizabeth Moss. She actually deliberately didn't wear any makeup for her. She said, I don't want that, especially the close-up shots of the Handmaid, so that they could see everything in her face. And it really is so powerful and effective.
Yeah,
she is so subtle as an actress.
Absolutely.
Brilliant, right?
It's actually funny because we were the movie we were talking about before, Handmaid. It also is about, at least in the first part of the movie, it's about a person, again a woman who goes on because of a child. I just don't hope the same happens in Handmaid still. But you were talking about the technique, and in Handmaid there is no voiceover, and also on the power of the actress. You feel that she has this relentless searching and power to survive, to get to see her, basically your legacy, which is your child. Which for me, if you look at the Handmaiden still, because they are so focused on giving the world a legacy, or that group of people with that kind of society and attitude, that it's also kind of ambiguous that like so many people in Handmaiden are searching for children, for the new generation, and also the main character who is suppressed because of this search. Also, she also looks for the survival of her own kind. It's kind of funny. So they might go, or she might actually start to partly understand her suppressors because she has the same search. She has the same.
I see.
And again, of course, that's a doubling device,
And
so the victim is actually in the same kind of search as the
society in which she
so
finds herself. Okay.
They search for Moira. They search for this new blood, the survivor. Yeah.
So and also with the one-eyed bee, I want to know what happened to her. Why is she pregnant? And I hate her, but I do want to know what's going on. And also Offred, and her companion, them finally, opening up to each other, and I want to know where that goes. Everything together. There's so many, major plots, subplots, and everything is interesting enough. You know, no plot or nothing seems to be just a side plot or a filler plot. I know we're only talking about one episode, but everything together and how gorgeous it looks, and Elizabeth Moss, like I'm on board all the way. It's been renewed for a second season already, so I'm in.
Yeah. Great. Good to hear it.
How about
Yeah,
you?
because I mean, at first, you know, the first for me, maybe I was just in a when I watched it, the emotional place I was at, maybe it wasn't great. I don't know, but I watched it and I found it really difficult to watch the first episode. And I thought maybe I'm not going to watch this because this seems so bleak. This is almost like I don't know. No. It was almost, what would be the word? I don't know. Like dystopia porn. Like this is just made to make me feel bad, and somehow revel in that emo sense of I don't know, this depressive, really hopeless kind of situation in which Offred finds herself.
It makes you feel like Kylo Ren.
Yeah, it made me feel so bad. I just thought this is well made, but do I want to carry on with this? Is this going to actually? Is this going to give me anything in my in my life? But I carried on with it due to the recommendation of a friend. And I found it really very rewarding carrying on. So if you do find the first episode, it is very bleak, just a warning, carry on, because it's worth it, definitely. So I'm really hooked. I've seen the first 9 episodes and it's brilliant, really great.
For me, the alarm bells of some great novels like 1984, Brave New World, they go off again when Joel said about there is a war going on, and then I thought like, but is that Eurasia or you never know, because it could all be propaganda to keep this society. These I just like this this kind of, let's say, a genre. It is called the dystopian genre, and you had a valid point. Will it be might it be dystopian porn, or that you only get depressed about and stuff? But no, I'm really willing to see at least the first season through, and then I think it will be good. I think it will be really good. And there's also something with her name. There's something going to happen. It's going to be a big revelation. It's going to be a big sacrifice. Offred.
Offred. Yeah. Okay.
Because of the offer or something like that. Because it sounds like offering or something.
No, sacrificing. Offer.
Yeah. Like a ritual offering, like a sacrifice. Okay, that could be something. I don't know. I honestly can't say.
But go try it.